Yeah, this advice is quite contentious. I've tried giving this advice to several people, and it depends. It splits people 50-50. Um, some people like it. Tends to be pen test outfits and managers thereof that hate it, but I'll say it anyway. Uh, People today have a predilection to memorize the antecedent. They don't learn the premise. People often ask me, how did you get into exploit coding? Well, exploit coding was easy for me because it naturally followed from cracking. Right.
Yep.
Learning assembler and how the machine works, it naturally followed. I didn't need any help. I didn't need anybody to write a zine article to teach me how to do this. It just followed as a corollary. So I didn't
What tools did you
memorize.
use back then?
Oh, it's just
Early for
GDB, just a Linux machine with GDB.
Okay.
Yeah, for Linux, Windows, WinDBG attached to pros. Yeah, and make it, the usual, make it crash and see what you can do, that kind of thing. It
Back then,
just follows on. It follows on from the
everybody
cracking,
could
because if you're
find.
staring, if you're a cracker, you're staring at a debugger all day. It's just using it to a different end. So don't learn the antecedent, learn the premise. So if you want to go into education, if you want to go to university, don't bother with a cybersecurity degree. They'll teach you that CBC mode for symmetric block ciphers is bad, right? But then you'll never learn the why. But if you learn computer science and theoretical computer science as a science, all else will follow.
Yeah.
As a corollary, right?
I think
You'll
it
learn.
allows you to learn on your
Yes,
own
you'll
later.
learn. Correct. You'll learn. Go as low down to the core science as your intellect will permit you, and then start from there. Applied back in my academic days, we used to call things like cybersecurity degrees as like an applied science. Right? It's
It's not the science;
memories.
it's the output of the science.
Yes, it's the antecedent, not the premise. Always look. Yeah, and people have a tendency to do that. They think it's a shortcut. It isn't, because you end up thinking inside a box, and you're in the box, but you don't even, and worse still, you don't even know you're in the box because you've never seen anything outside it.
Yeah. It reminds me sometimes somebody can like find a SQL injection, but they have no concept of
Correct.
how to write
Yeah,
SQL statements. And
that is exactly what I saw in the early 2000s when people started pumping out zine articles to exploit stack buffer overflows. People would just pen test it. I can give a perfect example of it. My first job in pen testing after I came out of academia, there was a guy who sat opposite me on the first day, and the first day he says, I hear you've got some experience with exploit coding, because when I went for interview, I told them I'd done a bit, but never told them exactly what. The reason being is the first interview I took, I told them everything. And the reply I got was to the recruiter was, we can't hire him because he must be a black hat on account of the fact that he's written all this stuff. So therefore he must be bad. So I learned from that, don't tell them everything. And on the first day, this guy says, oh, I've got this bug, stack buffer overflow in this open source program. Can you take a look at it? I've been trying to exploit it for 6 months, and he's been following these steps, and he couldn't crack it. And it basically took 20 minutes just to get the offsets correct. But because it wasn't written down in the steps, the antecedent, he couldn't fathom the principle. Learn the premise, the core, and then everything else will follow. And practice, practice. Open source code, read it until your eyes bleed and you can understand C perfectly, and then disassemble it to the point where you can read the assembler. And when you're reading the assembler, there's a common phrase that says you know you're fluent in another language that isn't your mother tongue when you catch yourself thinking in that
Yep.
language.
Yep.
Yep. Same thing with this. If read assembler until you catch yourself working out the C inside your head. And when you get to that point, you're good enough.
Then you're fluent.
Correct. And then you can apply that to everything else.
Yes.
As someone said, all code is open source. You just have to read the assembler.